Well, if New Hampshire voters want to choose Joe Biden today, they will have to write in his name. That's because Biden has snubbed the primary in New Hampshire. His party changed its calendar. Remember, they wanted South Carolina to go first. They need to try to win back some of the shedding black vote, and they're going to go through South Carolina. Biden allies have been pushing a write-in campaign for him for weeks here. And 81 years old as president is still plagued with questions over his age and fitness. It's a touchy subject at the White House.
Why do you think it is that more and more people polled feel like over time, President Biden is getting less and less mentally sharp?
You know, I have to say that's a little confusing for me, because if you look at what this president has done the last 3 years, historical pieces of legislation, right? When it comes to bipartisan infrastructure deal, there's the Chips and Science Act, right? There is the Inflation Reduction Act. These are legislation that is going to have a difference for generations to come, right? And so this is something that this president has done. That's pretty sharp for this president to have been able to do that.
RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel says Democrats made a big mistake.
I think that's important in contrast to the Democrats who walked away from New Hampshire, who are not here campaigning, to President Joe Biden, who said New Hampshire does not matter to me and walked away. And you are seeing Republicans in this state now, as we will continue to be when we win this state in November next year as we take back the White House.
A scathing op-ed calls out Democrats with this headline: at least Republican voters were given a chance. And part of it here, Biden might have the incumbent advantage, but that doesn't mean he's above being challenged, especially when he vowed during the 2020 campaign to be a one-term president, and his approval ratings continue to plummet. Democratic voters have made it clear repeatedly that they want options. One Democrat who is on the ballot and hoping to make a big splash, Biden primary challenger Dean Phillips, Democratic congressman from Minnesota. So we have that Minnesota connection.
Yes,
I was an anchor there for a while.
Well, yeah, for warmer climes.
And I'm blessed because this is now part of my journey, and so is that.
And what a beautiful journey it is.
Thank you. So how are you different from President Biden in terms of your policies and all of that? Because other than your age, I haven't heard a whole lot of difference.
Well, I'm a very different leader. I've got private sector experience. I know how to lead organizations. By the way, Harris, I want to have a bipartisan cabinet. I want the best and brightest conservatives and progressives in the White House. I want every American's voice to be heard in the White House. I have executive experience. I know how to lead. We need zero-based budgeting. We need some fiscal responsibility in an administration. By the way, the Trump administration and the Biden administration, almost no attention to paying attention to our balance sheet. $7 trillion under Trump, probably another 6 or 7 under Biden. It's an unmitigated disaster. I also have some new propositions. I want to start young Americans at the very beginning with something called American Dream Accounts, where the federal government would endow every single baby born with a $1,000 investment account invested in U.S. equities, can add $500 a year, and then the incentive to graduate high school when you're 18, then your account becomes yours. It would be $20,000 for everybody to become an owner in this economy. Down payment on a house, start a small business, kind of complementary to Social Security and retirement. Give a boost to every single American, regardless of zip code in the U.S. That's a big difference right there.
Actually, that's very Minnesotan, by the way. I mean, just having lived there.
That's who we are.
So what would you say about what Biden is doing now? I mean, technically, he is putting money in the hands of some of the richest Americans to pay off their college bills. And many Americans, I mean, have vocational jobs. Like, they never went to college, so they're paying somebody else's bill. Do you challenge him on that?
Well, Harris, I would say, I think for a country in which I believe in the equality of opportunity, we should not be burdening young people with tens of thousands of dollars in debt if they wish to be educated. I think that would be a better policy. So that's the answer to your question. And I think that's something where if Democrats and Republicans would actually sit down, we might find a way forward.
With all due respect, it wasn't that different from Biden, but let's move on.
Well, no, you asked, though, if I would absolve everybody's debt, and here's what I would do. I like incentives, and I believe that we should absolve the debt of those that are willing to serve the public. We have a problem with attracting nurses, police officers, teachers. How about
military?
Military, exactly. Why don't we target...
I get it.
Absolve the debt of those who are willing to help this country when we really need a lot of people right now.
That is a huge difference. All right, you had some strong words for President Biden and Democrats in an interview just last night. Let's watch together.
People are really fearful. I saw a Trump rally outside of mine. I walked up to the line of people a mile long, And I simply said hello. I was met with 50 people going to the Trump rally who were friendly, hospitable, thoughtful. Some who said they voted for Barack Obama. Some said they were Bernie Sanders supporters. Donald Trump is on a big mission to win, and Joe Biden is going to get creamed. And I just wish Democrats would wake up.
Wow. Goodness. Over the weekend, you said that you were open to a third-party run, saying, quote, why would we not consider that, but walked back on the comments yesterday, no to a no labels run, suggesting that it would only help Donald Trump. Now, a lot of people say it would really hurt the Democratic Party, but why did you flip on that?
What I'm open to is the notion, first of all, I have great respect for principled conservatives. I have great affection for my Republican colleagues in Congress. I have animus towards Donald Trump, something we could talk about, but that's the point is this. We've got to do this entirely differently. And I'm someone who is so different than both that man and Joe Biden, someone who aspires to lead in a bipartisan fashion, welcome everybody. And I think that's something Americans need to know.
And you don't think Biden is doing that? I mean, you know, he calls people MAGA Republicans,
well, that's my point here, Harris.
Extreme, and you've got also on the left the deplorables. And then just recently, the vice president sat in front of Joy Behar and without challenge, sat there as Joy Behar called half the country crazies.
That's my whole point right here. The way that Donald Trump demeans many on my side of the aisle, the way that Joe Biden has not restored the soul of the nation, that is the dearth of leadership that I think the country is really demanding. And I'll tell you, you saw this clip right moments ago. I went to that Trump rally. I said hi to folks. They were warm and welcoming. Today at the polls, I've been to about 3 different polls, went up and said hi.
Well, they're also hoping you'll help them.
My point, Harris, is we're all Americans, and I'm tired of American leaders who believe that by demeaning half of our country, it is somehow accretive to the American experience. It's nonsensical, and I'm sick of that, and that's why I'm running for president.
Are you going to beat Joe Biden in New Hampshire?
I'm sure going to try my darndest, and I'll tell you, I started 10 weeks ago with 0 name recognition, 0 in the polls, very ragtag upstart group, and I think we're going to surprise tonight. In 10 weeks, we're going to come in ways, I think, surprisingly, and I ask people to pay attention. This is just the beginning. Joe Biden is a good man. He's not going to beat Donald Trump. Democrats,
is he too old to run for president?
I think both of these 2 men should be retired by now, by the way.
All right, we're going to move on. I ask you about the New Hampshire because I just don't know how many people are going to write in Joe Biden.
No.
And name recognition you say you're working on. Dean Phillips, it's a pleasure.
Harris, thank you. Keep the faith.
All right. I have a lot of faith in a lot of things.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.